Perfect. Thank you so much. So we're going to be providing an overview of Odyssey of the Mind, and I'll be introducing your new Inland Empire Regional Director. I have a picture and I can give you his name in a little while. We're going to discuss what students can learn by participating in Odyssey of the Mind, which is a lot. There's some really cool things that you can learn by doing OM. Understand your district's application process for being on an Odyssey team. Answer any questions that you have about the program and participating in the program. Get you super excited about creative problem solving. It's just amazing. It's super fun. And so we're going to talk about that and share some information about all the resources and support that you have as team members and coaches for participating in Odyssey of the Mind from our state organization. And so I want to start off with just a quick poll to kind of get an idea of who my audience is. So if you can put in the chat how many years you participated in Odyssey of the Mind. And it's fine if it's 0, that's totally fine. That just gives me an idea of you know, how many years you've participated in Odyssey of the Mind, either as a coach or on a team. Ooh, 3, fantastic. Thank you very much. All right, mostly 0s coming in. So 2 years as a coach, fantastic. 6, wow, super fantastic. Yes, 8 years from Joanne Gillespie for sure, thank you. 4, fantastic, Edna. All right, so we have kind of some 0s and some folks who have been around for a really long time, and that's perfect because I'm going to be sharing information for people who don't know anything about the program, and then folks who have been in the program for a long time will be great with putting ideas and extra information in the chat because you've been around the block a few times with the program, been to some tournaments, and you'll be able to share some great information. We always love to have a combination of newbies and experienced folks come to these meetings. So please, my experienced participants and coaches, feel free to put any thoughts you have in the chat as we go along. Fantastic. Well, I'm glad there's so many new folks who are interested, new students who are interested in Odyssey of the Mind too. So, well, what the heck is Odyssey of the Mind? What I want you to think about is a combination of theater. So every team puts on a performance, and it's okay if you don't want to be the main actor or anything like that. There's all kinds of roles that students can play on a team where they don't have to be out in front of people saying a lot of lines. So there's lots of ways kids can get involved if they don't want to be the actor in the play. Excuse me, I've been on Zoom all day. There we go. So it's a combination of theater and problem solving with creativity thrown in there as well. So teams write their own scripts, they create their own costumes, props, scenery. There's required technical elements for some of them. Teams of students work together to produce incredible creative solutions while thinking beyond the box. We don't just think outside the box in Odyssey, we go beyond the box. And what I love, love, love about Odyssey, this is the most important thing for me, is that students with talents in many areas find a unique opportunity to show your gifts in script writing, costume creation, music, dance, visual arts, props and scenery, construction, engineering, problem solving, leadership, critical thinking, and more. So I talked with Dr. Broomfield. She's Dr. Broomfield now, congratulations. I talked with Dr. Broomfield before the meeting started, and students who are in the GATE program or not in the GATE program in the district can participate in Odyssey of the Mind, which is fantastic because as you can see from this list, there's all kinds of ways that kids can show their gifts and talents. And so we would love to see them participate in Odyssey of the Mind. And some of the pictures that you'll see in the presentation are from tournaments. Like this one, you can see there's kids, these are costumes that these high schoolers made themselves. They're pretty awesome. And you can see another group of younger kids down here who have participated. Those are all costumes that they made themselves as well. And then this raccoon, the raccoon is our mascot for Odyssey of the Mind because they're cunning and very smart. So that's why we have the raccoon. So Odyssey of the Mind, there are 2 parts to Odyssey of the Mind when you get ready to go to a tournament. Part 1 we call the long-term problem because your teams take a long time to work together to solve, to put together their solution. So we have teams of 5 to 7 students and they choose one of the 5 long-term problems to solve. Our primary teams in kindergarten through second grade have a separate problem to solve, and I'll show you what those are later. So we have teams of 5 to 7 students in grades K through 2 for primary, 3 through 5 for elementary, 6 through 8 for middle school, and 9 through 12 for our high school division. And these groups work together. They're going to be in person this year. I missed the one virtual in my update here, but you're going to be working together in person to solve their chosen problem as creatively as possible. And teams are awarded points for their creativity, for any required elements for the problem, and something we call style, which I'll talk about later. And there's a cost limit for each. So your teams have either $125 or $145 total to spend on your solution. That's not a whole lot. And the reason that it's low is that we really want teams to think about how to use recycled materials or a few materials in really creative ways. So a lot of the solutions that you'll see lots of cardboard, you'll see lots of duct tape holding things together, lots of household materials, things you would find at garage sales or at Salvation Army, Goodwill, thrift stores, and so on, used in highly creative ways. So we have 5 different problem categories. Problem 1 is a vehicle problem. That's right, a vehicle problem. So you have to build a vehicle that does certain things throughout your performance. It's pretty cool. Problem 2 is, we call it our technical problem, and that will always have some type of technical element included that the team has to build some type of device to do something. Problem 3 is classics. It's a performance problem. Quite often incorporates music and dance and historical elements. This year, problem 3 is based on Hamilton musical. So that's pretty cool. We're excited about that. Problem 4 is structure. It's a balsa wood structure that holds as much weight as possible. And then problem 5 is strictly a performance problem where it's all about the play and the acting, and sometimes there's some minor technical elements included in that as well. And then, like I said, we have the primary problem, which is separate for our kindergarten through second graders. The second part of Odyssey of the Mind, which is actually my favorite part, is called spontaneous. And at the tournament, teams perform their 8-minute skit for a panel of trained judges. And then on the same day, they go into another room and they are given a problem they have to solve on the spot. And this really tests your team's ability to work together, to problem solve, to think on your feet, and to really show that creativity and critical thinking. And these problems are meant to be solved within 10 minutes. So you go in, the judges give you the problem, your team solves it as creatively as possible, the judges score you, and then you're done with spontaneous. So let's try one. There's some different kinds of spontaneous problems. This is a verbal problem that you may get. And so in the chat, I want you to answer this question as creatively as you can. Name things that fly or that have the word fly in it. So think for a couple seconds and then put your responses in the chat pod. Name things that fly or that have the word fly in it. Oh, Alicia, great to have you back into the Odyssey of the Mind fold. She looks fly. Oh, I love that. That's fantastic. Butterfly, flycatcher, firefly, horsefly. Fantastic. Butterfly, firefly. Fly swatter, airplane. Excellent. Fly me to the moon. Oh, that's a good one too. Very good. So you can see there's a lot of different ways to use the word fly, and you guys have come up with some excellent creative responses. These are some of the ones I thought of ahead of time. And if you have a verbal problem, your judges are going to think about, well, was that a common response? Like everybody would kind of come up with that answer, or is this creative? And a lot of times our creative responses are plays on words or using words in a phrase, like Mrs. Covington said, fly me to the moon. That's a phrase that we use the word fly in. It's a different way of using that word. So some of the answers that I came up with that would have been creative: fly by night, fly on the wall, passed with flying colors, birds of a feather fly together. So again, these are some of the phrases that use fly. And you can see this word gruffly. Now it's pronounced differently, right? Because that's how the English language works, but it does have the word fly in it. And so that would be considered a creative response. And then some of the more common responses, but they're still good responses and they would still get points at the tournament. Butterfly or a paper airplane would fly, okay? Or just a regular airplane would fly. So that's an example of what a spontaneous problem would be like. Like I mentioned, there's different types of spontaneous problems. Verbal requires teams to give verbal responses, talking out loud. That may include improvisation, making up stuff on the spot, or interesting speech where you're rhyming things or using things as plays on words or different parts of speech. Another type of spontaneous is hands-on, and this requires the team to create something with given materials. So one of the examples I use when I do teacher training for using spontaneous in the classroom is I give the teachers a stack of 6 index cards and they have to build the tallest structure possible with those index cards. That's all they get. They don't get any tape, no glue, no scissors, nothing. They just have to use their knowledge of how things can stack and so on to build the tallest structure possible. And then there are problems that combine both of these things, verbal, hands-on. This requires the team to create something with given materials that includes some type of verbal element as well. And the team doesn't know what they're going to get when they go in. So it's important for our coaches to be practicing all 3 types with our teams on a regular basis. Another important aspect of Odyssey of the Mind is the ability to brainstorm and to, try and how you're going to spend your time thinking of a creative way to solve the problem or come up with a creative response. Up on the screen is one brainstorming technique that we teach our coaches about. It's called the SCAMPER technique. And this is just a way for kids to think about and remember the different ways that they can change things to make them creative. So I'm not going to read through this whole slide, but we can think about how things can be substituted, combined, adapted, modified, used in a different type of purpose, how it could be elaborated or reversed. And this is a way for kids to think creatively and to be given some strategies about creativity, because in Odyssey of the Mind, we believe that creativity can be taught. And so that's why we give our coaches the ability to learn some more about different brainstorming and teamwork strategies so that they can actually help their teammates and their team members become more creative. So by participating in Odyssey of the Mind, we address so many different areas, including the Common Core, the California Content Standards, and all the different subject areas, language arts, social studies, math, science, all the different areas. STEAM or STEM and 21st century skills. You're going to learn how to work as a team, how to cooperate and collaborate with others, decision-making, creative and spontaneous problem solving, critical thinking, creative writing, visual and performing arts. The soft skills are one of the more important aspects of Odyssey that you learn. And this is where you learn and have the opportunity to talk with adults, to talk through your thinking. So after your performance is finished, the judges will come up and they'll ask you questions like, how did you come up with that? Who built this? How did you build this? And so you learn important skills about being able to give a performance, stand up in front of people, work under pressure, because things almost always go wrong during an Odyssey performance and you have to work through that as a team. And then you get to talk with adults afterwards about the process that you went through to develop your solution. And that's really, really important. Both our kids talked about their Odyssey experiences in all of their college applications because it had such a profound impact on them for learning all the things that are up on the screen, as well as those soft skills of being able to make a presentation and then talk to others about it. Because you have a small budget, you do have to learn about budgeting. How, can we spend $20 on this item when we only have $125 to spend for our entire solution? So you have to talk through that as a team. Engineering and building, even if you don't do a technical problem, you still have to figure out how you're going to build your scenery. And so there is going to be some building involved in almost every solution. And then also just learning that the process is more important than the end result. And what do you learn as an Odyssey team member throughout the development of your solution and the building of prop scenery and costumes? Our kids learned a lot of things about how to use hand tools and power tools and a sewing machine, and how to think about using materials in different ways and creative ways. And that was all a part of the process of their team developing their solution. And then obviously our beyond the box thinking, where we really want you to be thinking creatively and differently about the things around you. So if you're interested in seeing the end result, we don't have time to show one of those tonight, but if you would like to see examples of Odyssey plays that have been done, you can go to YouTube and type in Odyssey of the Mind World Finals in the search box, and you'll see some incredible performances from teams that have advanced past the regional and the state tournaments. We normally have about 33 teams that advance from the SoCal organization to World Finals in normal in-person years. And so there's lots of fantastic performances up there. I love this picture because these are both California teams that have performed at World Finals before. And this is on the left here, this picture is a giant book that the team built. And the book turned pages during their performance and gave important information about their performance. And so the team figured out how to build this huge piece of scenery and then use it creatively throughout their performance. And the same thing on the right-hand side, these girls from California built this intricate piece of scenery that opened and closed during the play and revealed different elements to the audience. And it was just fantastic. So it's amazing to go look at these performances and see some of the incredible things that teams have been able to create. Here's some examples from teams that our kids were on that I coached over the years, just to give you an idea of some of the different skills and talents that team members had that contributed to some amazing solutions. What you're seeing up here on the screen right now are elements of performances for our kids teams that went to World Finals over the years. And you can see that the top two left here are just incredible pieces of art. And we had an incredible artist on our team for a few years, and she was able to do just beautiful artwork. It was very visually engaging and stunning. We also had great engineers on our team. And one year they had to transport something across a large piece of scenery in 3 different ways. And so this upper right item here is a vehicle that is powered by a mousetrap. So they were able to, and then they made it out to be a mouse, and he was delivering a piece of cheese and everything. So they tied in the whole mousetrap theme to their vehicle and what it was carrying. So that was really creative. And then on these bottom 2 pictures here, this device is called a Johnson machine. And they're very intricate and complicated. And our team that year figured out how to make one of these out of Legos, which is very unusual. And this device brought this little cloth here, which had actually artwork that was created by the team in cross stitch using embroidery. And it was a very important part of their play. And this Janssen machine spider, they called it a spider, carried this across the piece of scenery. And then one year they built a vehicle. We did the vehicle problem one year, and they had, I don't know if you can see it really well, but the lights and the front grille are all empty water bottles, recycled water bottles, and they lit up during the performance. So they were able to turn the lights on and off, and they figured out how to do wiring and get LED lights in there and everything. So the reason I'm showing you these and this next slide is just to give you an idea of the creative talents that kids had in order to, do well on a team. It wasn't just a team full of all actors or all artists or all script writers. You really need a team that has a variety of kids with a variety of talents in order to be successful. This is a picture of the backside of some scenery from a play again that went to World Finals one year. They had so many props during this play that all the characters used. It was really difficult for them to keep track of everything without bumping into each other and so on. And so the team came up with this very complicated pocket system and stacking system behind the scenery so that they knew exactly, they could just grab what they needed when they needed it during the play, and they weren't running into each other and losing things during the performance. And that's what happened at regional tournament. Actually, they had kind of a rough performance at regionals with all these props. And so between regionals and states, they came up with this system so that their state performance was much better. All right, so what does a team practice look like? So we want, obviously during this pandemic time, we want all of our teams to follow whatever your district, county, and state health guidelines are for social distancing. So if you're practicing at school and so on, we expect you to be, wearing your mask and washing your hands, using hand sanitizer and so on, keeping any tools that you're using wiped off with, antibacterial wipes and all that sort of thing. So just, keep doing everything you've been doing to keep yourself and your family safe and healthy. We know that teams can successfully hold practices for long-term and spontaneous, as well as create all their long-term elements wearing masks and socially distance. We were able to do that last year, completely virtual. Teams who participated last year did so completely virtual, but we know that you can complete your solutions and so on working together in masks. That's totally fine. We also have a lot of resources available at our website, which I'm going to show you in just a little bit. And we're going to be adding more resources as we go along as well. All right. So tournament time. So your teams are going to start here pretty soon. As soon as we, get done here, we're going to show you where the application is. And then Dr. Broomfield and other folks in the district are going to look at who's interested and look at where we can form some teams and get you guys started. The end goal is your tournament, which I'm going to show you the date later on, so you'll know what that date's going to be. And then on the day of the tournament, your teams are going to have your presentations ready, have all your paperwork ready, and then you'll do your performance for your judges and hopefully some spectators as well. We're hoping we're going to have spectators at our tournament. And then, like I said earlier, going to complete a spontaneous problem live for another panel of judges. Students are rewarded for how they apply their imagination, creativity, knowledge, and talents, and not for the right answer. There is no right answer in Odyssey, not ever. We want our judges to say, how in the world did they come up with that? That is so amazing, so creative, so beautiful, so well done. How did they do that? And so that's what we want out of our Odyssey performances. So like I mentioned before, the SoCal Odyssey of the Mind season will be in person. We're super excited. We're going forward with in person for now. We are going to have all appropriate COVID safety protocols in place for our tournaments. We'll be sharing more information about that closer to tournament time. The regional tournament for the Inland Empire, which is the Inland Empire region, is going to be March 5, 2022 at Moreno Valley High School. Yay, Moreno Valley High School, so excited. That's where we're going to have our state tournament when COVID hit. So we're very excited to be back, and that Moreno Valley is welcoming us for both the regional tournament and the state tournament this year. Super excited. All of our coach training will be virtual this year. So for those of you who coached last year, we had our online coaching modules and we had our online webinars. We're going to be doing that again. It was very successful. And so we're going to continue with that. We do have separate modules this year for our experienced coaches. So for coaches who have more than 2 years of coaching experience, we'll have separate modules for you. And then at the coach webinars, we'll have a general session for everybody. And then we're going to do breakout rooms for new and experienced coaches. So we're able to provide some differentiation for that this year. All of our coaches must complete the online training modules and attend one of the 3 live webinars before your team's allowed to register for the regional tournament. So we'll be keeping a list of folks who participate and holding you accountable for that. We did last year as well, and ended up holding 1 extra webinar in December for our stragglers. So I don't want any Moreno Valley coaches to be in our straggler group this year. And I'm sure Dr. Broomfield will not allow that to happen. And your state tournament is going to be held April 2nd, 2022 at Moreno Valley High School. We haven't decided what our advancement guidelines are going to be from the regional to the state tournament. That will all depend on how many teams and memberships we have. So we will definitely let you know before the regional tournament if it'll be just the top 2, top 3 from each problem and division, or what the advancement guidelines will be. Oh, and this piece of scenery, I forgot to put this picture in here. So because last year's season was virtual, I was actually able to, the last 2 years, because World Finals was virtual, I was able to participate as an Odyssey of the Mind team member for the first time. I was so excited. We didn't have Odyssey of the Mind in my school when I was growing up. And so I got together with my family members and a friend of ours from up north in Northern California, and we did 2 years of Odyssey of the Mind. So I'm super excited, and it's been really cool for me to be a participant because I get to see the program from the other side. And we won the gold medal the first year and the silver medal the second year. We got beat out by an amazing team from New York. They won an Outstanding Creativity Award. And so yeah, we didn't do as well the second year, but we still had a lot of fun. All right, World Finals, we've had it virtually for the past 2 years. We did have an in-person option this past year, but we didn't have too many teams from California participate because it was in Florida. But this year, we are hoping for an in-person World Finals. It is going to take place May 25 to 28 at Iowa State University. And the top 2 teams from each problem and division advance from our state tournament to World Finals. So we had a couple of teams place at state last year. We had from Moreno Valley, we had 2 third-place teams. So that was very exciting. And so we would love to see them bump up to second place and be able to advance to our in-person World Finals this year. So I know you guys can do it. We do also have an option for virtual only. So if there are Moreno Valley teams that really feel comfortable with just doing virtual, that is also an option for this year. Only problems 2 and 3 and primary are available for virtual only this year. So that's a team by team decision, and you can talk with myself and Dr. Broomfield if you feel like that's the option your team wants to go with. We can talk with you about that. There will be no regional or state tournament for the virtual teams. There will just be a World Finals option. All right, in terms of commitment, so if you're a parent watching this and you're thinking, wow, that seems like a whole lot of work and so on, it's not a small amount of work, and it's not a small commitment to be on a team. You can see by the dates of the tournament, they're in March, your regional tournament's in March, so you're making a commitment for your child to participate from whenever your team gets started here in the next few weeks until at least a regional tournament. And if they, advance, then going on to the state tournament almost a month later. So it is, a school year long type of commitment to be on the team, and you need to be aware of that. It's hard for teams to get started and then have kids drop out as it goes along because they're part of the performance. And if somebody drops out, then somebody has to take over that responsibility. And then maybe they don't have as many team members either. And it's really tough. So think about that commitment. Normally teams meet weekly, and then the closer you get to tournament time, they may be meeting twice a week just to kind of fine tune everything in time for the tournament. We obviously expect all of our students on teams to behave appropriately and follow all of your school and district rules and respect one another and be a good teammate. We expect that if you commit to the program that you're going to participate in the regional and state tournaments and not let your team down. Provide whatever support you can for the team, and we'll talk about what that can be in just a minute. You may find household items disappear because they're used for prop scenery and costumes. Hopefully they ask first. There may be opportunities to, go to the thrift store, go to garage sales, look for items, recycled items. The year we did the water bottle thing, we were, keeping water bottles left and right. So we had enough for the vehicle and so on. And then every team needs to provide a judge and a volunteer for our tournaments. So we provide all the training for the judges. Nobody has to have any experience in Odyssey in order to be trained as a judge. So what can parents do? We do have rules about outside assistance. This is a kid-driven program, and we expect that every aspect of the solution has been done by the kids, only by the kids. So parents can't sew costumes, they can't paint things, they can't build things, they can't do a child's makeup, nothing like that. It all has to be done by the kids. And if it's not, the team can get an outside assistance penalty. And there have been instances where teams have gotten penalties like this and they then haven't been able to move on to the next level of the tournament because of that. So it's very important that the kids do all the work. You can provide transportation, trips to the thrift store, provide snacks. Omers seem to eat a lot while they're in practice. So if you can provide snacks, that would be great. Be a co-coach with a teacher. That would be a great opportunity to be involved as well. And then volunteer at our tournaments or ask family members to volunteer. Those are all great ways that parents can help. Another way that parents can help that I actually need to put on the slide too is you can teach skills to a team. So for example, one year the kids needed to build a structure for their team, for their solution, and one of the dads was a civil engineer. And so he came to practice one time and he taught them about what shapes make strong bases for structures and how to use available materials to build structures and so on. He didn't teach them how to build the structure they ended up using in their play, but he taught them concepts about how to build strong structures, and they were able to use that knowledge then to build the structure that was used in their play. One year I taught a couple of team members how to use a sewing machine. I didn't sew their costume for them, but I showed them this is how you thread it, this is how you do the bobbin, this is how you put the fabric in, this is how you do a straight line, and so on. And then they were able to use the sewing machine to sew their own costumes or various elements. So if there are skills that you have, you know how to paint, you know how to build things, you know how to use power tools or hand tools, we can teach kids how to use those things, and then they can go ahead and use them themselves when they build the things that they need for their plays. So any kind of expertise like that is always welcome to a team for sure. All right, so the Moreno Valley application is available online, correct, Dr. Brimfield?
It is, I believe, on the website, Dr. Larson, and I'm going to drop the link in the chat also.
Perfect. So the application is online, which is fantastic. Go over it with your child before submitting. So this may be something that you as a parent, you're like, wow, this is awesome, you got to participate. But if your student doesn't want to participate, then that just sets up a situation where they kind of don't want to go to practice. They don't want to do what the team is asking them to do, and they're not really good teammates. So have a conversation about it with your family and make sure that this is something everybody wants to be involved in, and then go ahead and click on the link there and submit the application to participate. Teams will be formed based on student and coach availability. So we haven't had this problem yet where we've had too many kids and not enough coaches, but that could be a problem. But we'll try and get coaches for the kids who want to participate. So this year's problems, they are super cool. I'll just go through them real quickly here. Our primary teams have a vehicle problem this year. And I am so excited to see what our primary teams can do with a vehicle problem. I don't remember them ever having a vehicle problem in all the years that I've been state director. And I know the 2 years our kids did primary, they certainly didn't have one either. So this is super cool. So teams are going to build a vehicle that is powered 3 ways. So this is going to be a good challenge, really good challenge. Alicia, it's going to be March 5. The regional tournament's March 5 on a Saturday. The vehicle problem this year for our elementary, middle, and high school teams is called Escape Room. And so the theme of the performance is going to be an escape room, which I think is going to be super cool. I just love that idea. Problem 2 is sponsored by our corporate sponsor, Arm & Hammer. They sponsor us at the national level. And so the theme for this is for teams to present a performance that identifies an original threat to the environment that self-replicates until a team-created invention removes the threat. So I can't wait to see what teams do with that either. That should be a lot of fun. Like I mentioned before, problem 3 is based on Hamilton, the musical. And so teams get to decide who they want their historical figure to be, and they'll create a musical performance based on that, which is really fun. And then problem 4 is a matryoshka structure, and I know I mispronounced that, but those are the nesting dolls, the Russian nesting dolls. And so also structure teams are going to have a real challenge this year with coming up with nesting structures. That's going to be very exciting. And then problem 5, this sounds really cool as well. Life is a circus. And so teams wake up one day to discover they are transported into a circus world. There'll be original animals performing unexpected tricks, a clown, circus acts, and a ringmaster. So that's just going to be amazing. I can't wait to see what teams can come up with for that one. I think teams are going to have a really hard time deciding what problem they want to do this year because they're all amazing. And I just can't wait for tournament time. These performances are going to be incredible. So that's what our problems are this year to choose from. So if you're a team member, your next step is to fill out the application that Dr. Broomfield put into the chat pod for you. And then we'll get you connected with a coach and a team. And then you as a team and a coach decide when you are going to practice. So you'll set up practices that are convenient for everybody. Like Dr. Broomfield said in the chat, encourage your friends to participate. So if you want a team and there aren't enough kids at your school or whatever, you know, encourage your friends to participate. Anybody in Moreno Valley District can participate in Odyssey of the Mind. So we would love to see more kids participate. Coaches, be sure to complete the online coach training. We're almost done with updating it. It should be launching probably the beginning of next week would be my guess. We had a slight glitch because Dr. Larson mistakenly, all the quizzes disappeared on the training. Somehow Dr. Larson hit a button she wasn't supposed to when she was updating some information and all the quizzes disappeared. So it's taking a little longer than we expected because of that. I have honestly no idea what button I hit. So yeah, that's very embarrassing, but there you go. Even doctors make mistakes. So it should be ready next week, we're hoping. You can always contact me with questions. Obviously, you want to start with Dr. Broomfield and your district contacts, but coaches, you know, you can reach out to me anytime with questions for sure. My email address is up there, socaldirector@socalodyssey.org. And I am super excited to announce that Peter Doe is your new Inland Empire Regional Director. And his email address is inlandempirerd1@socalodyssey.org. And, you know, last year, if you were around for Odyssey of the Mind, you know that we did not have a regional director for Inland Empire. They stepped down at the beginning of our virtual season. And so we went 1 year without a regional director, which was okay because everything was virtual. We were kind of running everything from the state. But I am super excited to have Peter on board. He is a math teacher in the Huntington Beach district. And your own Dr. Lisa Broomfield is your regional treasurer. So super excited to have her on the board. And I truly, truly appreciate with everything else that's going on that she's willing to step into that role. It's a really important one. And then Dr. Michael Vallejo, who teaches with me at the university, he and I teach a class together in the spring. He is the new regional secretary. So fantastic new regional board. We'd like to get a couple of coaches on the regional board, and we have some other leadership positions as well. So be on the lookout for that information. But Peter's fantastic. We just spent 2 hours at the regional storage unit this past weekend, going through everything. And oh man, there was a lot of dust in there because we haven't opened it in a couple of years. So that was a hot, dirty job, but we're super excited about the season in Inland Empire. All right, some other resources for you. We have our state website. I'm going to show you that in just a second. Check out our YouTube channel. You can search for SoCal Odyssey. We have a few things on there as well. The national website, I don't know if you've seen the national website recently or not, but they did a big refresh over the summer as well. So it looks really cool and nice. You can see it's nicely updated and everything. They've got very clear links for getting started and so on. Your district is going to purchase your membership, so you don't have to worry about that. But there's different things to look at in terms of teams and so on. But it got a nice refresh. It looks really good. This is our state website. It's socalodyssey.org. There's lots of great information here. It's all been updated. I didn't delete anything by accident when I was updating this website. So somehow I managed to do that okay. Coaches, there's great information for you here. Last year, if you coached with us, you know this is called Virtual Journey Tools. Now it's just Creative Journey Tools. And we have our Google Drive with all of the great resources, and those have been all updated for this year as well. So check back to this website often. All right. We're on Facebook, and we do a lot of important announcements through our social media. All emails go out to coaches, and any important information you'll get for coaches definitely goes out through email as well. But there's a lot of good information on our Facebook page too. The national Facebook page too gives important information. There's already been clarifications submitted for this year for coaches, if you know what I'm talking about. So clarifications have been released already. It's early, so I definitely check that out. And then Inland Empire has its own Facebook page as well. So you can check that out, facebook.com/IE Odyssey. All right, that is all the information I have for you this evening. I know there's been a couple of questions in the chat that have been taken care of there. So any other questions?
Yes, I have a question for Lisa or Dr. Broomfield. I was wondering if you are going to be flying positions for coaching positions?
Of course I am. Absolutely I am. I'll try and get on that tomorrow. We'll see how fast we can get it up there. And of course, you know, it's going to be dependent on you having a team. And that's why we really need to be recruiting. Ms. Dow, you know, I do want to say that, you know, Friday or Monday at the latest is very tight for some of our parents. So, you know, I certainly would like to see that we're going to give at least a week for people to get their, at least a week for people to get their applications in. And of course, if we still have space, even after that, you know, even if it's not at your school, it may be at another school team. If that team is filled, you remember a team consists of 5 to 7 people. So it's not a lot of people, but so it can fill up, but schools can have more than one team. We had a school last year that had 3 teams. So, you know, we want to get as much participation as possible. So it's not a real hard deadline. It's a deadline that, you know, when the team is full, really is what we're saying. So we want you to get your applications in as soon as possible. But at the same time, you know, I know that we're going to be taking applications at least a week. I mean, certainly coaches sometimes take a little longer than that even to get their applications in. So we want to give as much grace as we possibly can, because we definitely want your participation. We love this program. The district is going to cover all the costs. So there should be no cost to our students or our coaches. And we just, you know, thankful, Dr. Larson, that you came tonight and, you know, would go over this for us. You are a gem to us in Moreno Valley.
Well, thank you. I love Moreno Valley. I love the district. I've been working with this district for many, many years, and I've been so happy to see this program grow and grow. And so definitely, you know, and teams are getting better and better as the coaches get more experience and the kids get more experience. And I was so excited to see medals at the state tournament last year. And I know there's great things to come. And I saw some eyes light up with these problems this year. I'm just so excited about. If I was a coach, I wouldn't know which one to choose. Like there's probably 3 that I would have a really hard time. And I'm sure our teams would too, trying to decide which one to do.
Well, I hope we get a primary team, because that definitely does sound fun. Of course, that Hamilton problem sounds a lot of fun too. So it's going to be a tough decision this year. I think it's going to be a real tough decision for our teams to decide what problem to do.
And Christian asked in the chat, how do you submit an application? If you scroll up a little bit in the chat, Christian, there's the link for the application. And then you just talk with your parents and work with them to fill that online application out. And then Dr. Broomfield just put it in the chat for you again.
Yeah, it's a Google Doc, so it'll automatically submit once you finish it and click submit. Mm-hmm. So glad you have 22 people. We had as much as 24 people online tonight. So great turnout tonight.
All right. Any other questions before we sign off for tonight?
Yes, I was also wondering if we could do a district t-shirt for Odyssey of the Mind, because In past competitions we've gone to, some schools have t-shirts, but a lot of districts do district-wide t-shirts as well.
I love that idea. Let's do that.
That sounds great.
I know Sharon will hold me to it.
Yeah. And we're having 3 teams again this year.
Oh, you are? That's fabulous.
Oh, fantastic.
We
That's
already
great.
have the students. So.
Oh, fantastic. I'm so excited to hear that. That's fantastic. And it'd be great to, you know, get the coaches and teams involved in deciding what you want your shirts to look like.
Maybe have a contest and have the kids design it and submit it.
Yeah, that would be great.
I think you should take the lead on that, Sharon.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. Love this. Fantastic.
I'll pick up the tab and you take care of the creativity piece.
Well, there you go. That sounds like a partnership made in heaven.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thanks everybody. I really appreciate it. Moreno Valley is a fabulous district and I'm super excited that Odyssey is continuing. And I can't wait to see a huge number of Odyssey teams from Moreno Valley at the regional tournament. So let us know if you have questions and stay safe, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Larson. Have a good evening, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Lisa. Good night.
Thank you. I'll send you the recording.
Thank you. Okay, sounds great. Thanks. Thanks, Pam.
Good to see you, Pam. Good evening. All right. Thank you, Priscilla.